After a few nights wild camping, we were in need of a proper shower. There really aren't many campsites inland in Greece, at least in this area, so it was a bit more challenging to find places to stay. Luckily though, Greece has an absolutely stellar warm shower response rate. It's basically an app like crowdsurfing but for cyclists. Whilst there wasn't a ton of hosts on the app, about 90% would reply and offer a place to stay. I cannot stress how much more that is than normal. I think we used the app more in Greece than all the other countries combined, though not for a lack of trying. People here just responded super quick and usually said yes. In France, for example, almost no one replied even when we gave loads of notice. We had managed to get a host in Polykastros, which wasn't super far away from our wild camping spot next to Lake Kirkini, so that was our next stop. In the morning, we packed up and made for Rhodopoli, where we met this absolutely massive dog and stocked up on pastries and SIM cards. This town is tiny, the middle of nowhere, and that Monday it was absolutely mental. Just everywhere in Greece we went to, whether it was small or big, was so busy. But busy in a good way, like really good vibes, and just like it felt like loads was going on. Mainly people just drinking coffee, but anyway, I liked it. The road to Polykastros was pretty chill apart from this over-the-top dog party. We made it to the city in good time to meet our host Tassos. He came out and met us at the flat. He had two in this big building and one he used for an Airbnb was free, so he was happy for us to stay in it for nothing. He was really kind and just let us chill out for a while, and he went back to work in his cafe nearby. We went out and met him later for some beers and food, and he offered for us to stay an extra night if we wanted, which we jumped at.
Were you drinking?
The next day, we took some much needed rest time and enjoyed having a balcony. We went to meet him at his cafe and had some very delicious spinach and pies and coffee for breakfast. Now, I love coffee, but apparently nowhere near as much as Greek people do. I thought French and Italians were into their coffee, but they're total pretenders. I've never experienced a culture so obsessed by coffee. Tassos gave us some great insights as well. So his place was like rammed all day with customers, and during the summer, espresso freddo is the thing. So basically an iced espresso, but no milk or anything like that, just amazing iced coffee. It's the best on super hot days, and even though it was September, it was still pretty boiling. What amazed me though was not only was his cafe super busy here, he was running around constantly delivering coffees to nearby businesses. He had this mad silver tray thing that he could carry coffees on without spilling it, and he would go into the police station next door, who were constantly buying takeout coffee all through the day. He said that every business around was ordering coffee in, and juice and cigarettes and all sorts of things. They had their own machines obviously for making coffee, but they'd also pick different cafes throughout the day to order from. It was just insane. Everywhere we went was like this. People were just buzzed like non-stop here, drinking coffee like all the time, right into the night. Later that evening we met for dinner and we were absolutely stuffed. The price might be a bit more like Western Europe because it's using the euro, but the portions are massive here. And the restaurant also sent us a whole extra course on the house as well. The next morning, we gave the place a quick clean, and also I forgot to mention that I basically walked into the balcony door sort of fly mesh thing and broke it, which I was extremely embarrassed about and gave me severe guilt, but Tassos wasn't really fussed at all. Still, I'm so sorry that I walked into your door twice. I was feeling a bit ropey and it got steadily worse. We stopped at the cafe for food and to say goodbye, but I could barely eat, and then when I tried to walk, I had such bad stomach cramps and I was feeling like super duper dizzy. So Tassos was very kindly just stay for another night. Even getting back to the flat was such a struggle. I don't really know what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was from eating some very suspicious Haribo, which is devastating. Luckily, things settled down and we were able to hit the road again the next day after some much needed rest time. Tassos absolutely saved us in that situation. The hospitality here was just so amazing and we were so grateful for it. We booked an Airbnb in Veria, and getting there was pretty easy, which was good because I was still recovering a bit from my stomach. On the way, we were both taken aback by cotton, which I guess is interesting if you've never seen the actual plant. At least we found it really interesting.
You stole it.
Yeah.
Veria was really nice, and again, totally mobbed. Everywhere was so busy. I know I keep banging on about this, but Bulgaria was just so empty and quiet, and the same with most small towns and even smaller cities across France. So it was just such a nice surprise to find every place full of life. We treated ourselves to some gyros and then got to bed. Food in Greece is just so good.
Oh, you've got a massive tick on your forehead. It's huge.
Oh.
I guess we have nice from there. Who's behind you? Alfredo.
In the morning, we set out to climb over some of the more mountainous areas. This was such a great part of the trip because there were these big massive A roads that were now deserted because they'd basically just finished building and expanding the motorway sections in this part of Greece. So what would normally have been a very busy, windy and probably dangerous section to cycle was now essentially empty apart from us, herds of sheep and cows and a million dogs. There's something quite cool about seeing this kind of thing where it feels like areas are getting reclaimed by the people who live around it. And obviously it's brilliant for cycling because the roads are in such good nick, plus the scenery is like top notch. Coming down the other side was a blast. We joined a side road to the motorway, getting up to like 50 kilometers per hour. The road was brand new and also empty, perfect for cycling. I'd gotten a warm shower host in Xirolimni and was just checking out how to get there. Bizarrely, the host was the mayor of the town, who I think worked in a co-op in another town nearby.
Hello, it's Ryan.
And he sorted us out to stay in the old schoolhouse. Now, if you look at reviews and trying to get to this place, it seems like pretty much every other cyclist does the exact same thing. They look around, get lost, then go to the petrol station, say the name of the mayor, and then get directed to the old schoolhouse, which is exactly what we did. Fillipos had given us instructions on how to get in the building and we set up camp for the night. I'm not really sure why we put up the tent inside, but it seemed to make sense at the time. I think we were just so used to always putting up the tent. The good thing about this tent in particular is that it's freestanding, so it was, you gotta do what you gotta do. I did really want to go out for a beer, but we were pure knackered by the time we'd eaten. Life is full of regrets and missed beers.
Next election.
Hello.
A Greek word.
Where are you now, Ryan?
So YAM'S.
I don't know how it's pronounced them. The name
The name of the village, it's called Xirolimni. It's dry. It means dry lake. Two words, Xiro and Limni. Limni in Greece means lake. Is the word of lake. So it's dry lake. Dry village. You are on dry lake.
In the morning, Fillipos, the mayor, came and chilled out with us for an hour or so. He was super nice and like so young for a mayor. He talked about Greek life and it was lovely to hear and learn about. One thing he told me that was so interesting was that before the financial crash, people used to go out to bars and casually spend like 200 euros on a bottle of whiskey and then spend tons of money on expensive flowers to throw at singers and dancers. And he's like, yeah, that's why there's so much debt now. I'm not sure if that's the only reason, but it was a funny story anyway. So far, we were loving the sheer amount of dogs, the beautiful landscapes, and most importantly, the people in Greece. Just making this video has reminded me how quickly we fell in love with this country. I think a lot of people probably rush through this area just to get to Istanbul if they're on that big world tour. It's usually a cause of timings for visas and getting through the Middle East, but if you do have time, it's one of the best countries in Europe to explore by bicycle. Thank you so much for watching this next episode of our travels through Greece. I hope you're enjoying it, and if you've got any questions or want to leave me any comments, I'd really appreciate it. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode on Wednesday.